this margin being too mean for my purpose, the reader must look elsewhere for the new geometry of irregular forms, discovered by Thomasina Cavalli. Well, does it mean anything?
I don't know. I don't know what it means, except mathematically.
Well, I meant mathematically.
Well, it's an iterated algorithm.
What's that?
It's an algorithm that's been iterated. The left-hand pages are graphs of what the numbers are doing on the right-hand pages, but all on different scales. Each graph is a small section of the previous one blown up, like you'd blow up a detail of a photograph, or a detail of a detail, and so on, forever, or in her case, until she ran out of pages.
Is it difficult?
Well, the math isn't difficult. You have some x and y equation, and the value for x gives you a value for y, so you put a dot where it's right for both x and y. Then you find the next value for x, which gives you a value for y, and once you've done that a few times, you join up all the dots, and you have a graph of whatever the equation is.
Huh. And that's what she was doing?
No, not exactly. Not at all. What she was doing is, once she found her y value, she was using that as her next x values. Like a feedback. She was feeding the solution back into the equation and then solving it again. Iteration, you see.
And that's surprising?
Well, it is a little surprising. It's the technique that I am using on my graphs, and it hasn't been around for much longer than 20 years.
20 years? Why would Thomasina be using
I
it?
have no idea. I thought you were doing the hermit.
I am. I still am. Damn that Bernard. Turns out Thomasina's tutor has some quite interesting connections. Bernard's in the library like a bloodhound,
There
but...
is a lot of interesting stuff lying around. Gus loves going through it. No masters or anything.
The primer that she was using belonged to him. He wrote his name in it. See?
Septimus Hodge.
Yeah. Why do you think these things were saved?
Why must there be a reason?
And the diagram, and what's it of?
How would I know?
Why are you cross?
I'm not cross. Look, when your Thomasina had been doing math, it had been the same math for a couple thousand years. Classical. And for a century after Thomasina. And then math left the real world behind. Just like modern art, really. Nature was classical, maths was suddenly Picasso's. But nature is having the last laugh because the freaky stuff is turning out to be the mathematics of the natural world.
This feedback thing.
For example.
So could Thomasina have...
No! Of course she bloody couldn't.
Okay, you're not cross. So what did you mean by you were doing the same thing that Thomasina was doing? What are you doing?
Actually, I'm doing it from the other end. She started with an equation and turned it into a graph. I'm starting with a graph, real data, and I'm trying to find the equation which would give you the graph if you used it the same way that she used hers. Iterated it.
Huh. What for?
Well, it's how you look at population changes in biology. Goldfish in a pond. Say, this year there are X goldfish, next year there'll be Y goldfish. Some get born, some get eaten by herons, whatever. Nature manipulates the X and turns it into Y. Then Y is your starting population for the following year. Just like Thomasina, your Y value becomes your next X value. Now, the question is, what's being done to X? Whatever that is, it can be written down as mathematics. It's called an algorithm.
But it can't be the same every year.
Well, no, the details change. You can't keep tabs on everything. It's not nature in a box, but it's not necessary to know all the details because when it's all put together, the population obeys a mathematical rule.
The goldfish do?
Yes. No. It's not about the behavior of fish. It's about the behavior of numbers. It works for any phenomenon which eats its own numbers. Measles epidemics, rainfall averages, cotton prices. It's a natural phenomenon in itself. Spooky.
So, does it work for grouse?
I don't know yet. I mean, it does undoubtedly, but it's harder to show with grass. It's more noise,
Noise?
distortions, interference. Real data's messy. You had 1,000 acres of moorland which had grass on it until about 1930, but nobody counted the grass, they shot the grass. So you count the grass that they shot. But burning the heather interferes, it improves the food supply, and a good year for foxes interferes the other way. And then there's the weather, just so very, very unpredictable out there. Like a piano in the next room. It's playing a tune, but it's out of whack, and the pianist is tone deaf and drunk. The noise is impossible.
So what do you do?
You start guessing what the tune might be. You try this, you try that, you start to get something. You start putting in notes which aren't quite the right notes, and bit by bit, dum-de-dum-dum, dear Valentine, dum-de-dum-dum to you. The lost algorithm.
I see. And then what?
I publish.
Oh, right, of course, sorry. Jolly good.
That's the theory, of course. Grouse are bastards compared to goldfish.
Then why did you choose them?
The game books. 200 years of real data on a plate. My true inheritance.
Someone wrote down everything that was shot.
Yes, that's what a game book is.
Oh.
I'm only using from 1870 though, from when butts and beaters came in.
You mean the books go back to Thomasina's time?
Yes, further. No. I promise you, not a schoolgirl living in a country house in Derbyshire in 18 whatever.
Well, what else could she have been doing?
Nothing that she understood. She was just playing with the numbers.
She must have been doing something.
Doodling. She didn't know what she was doing.
A monkey at a typewriter.
Yes. A piano.
A method whereby all the forms of nature must give up their numerical secrets and draw themselves through number alone. This feedback thing, is it a way of making pictures out of forms of nature? Just tell me if it is or if it isn't.
To me, it is. Pictures of growth, change, creation. It's not a way of drawing an elephant, for God's sake.
I'm sorry. So, you couldn't make a picture out of this apple, let's say, by iterating what's it?
Yes, you could do that.
Oh, then tell me, Val. Honestly, I could kill you.
Look, if you knew the algorithm and you fed it back, say 10,000 times, each time a dot would appear on the screen. You never know what to expect the next dot, but gradually you start to see this shape because all the dots form within the shape of an apple. It wouldn't be an apple, it would be a mathematical object, but yes, it's the unpredictable and the predetermined unfolding together to create everything the way that it is. It's how nature creates itself on every scale, the snowflake and the snowstorm. It makes me so happy to be at the beginning again, knowing almost nothing. People were talking about the end of physics. Relativity and quantum looked as though they were going to clear out the whole problem between the two of them. Theory of everything, but relativity and quantum only explain the very big and the very small, the universe and the elementary particles. The ordinary size stuff, the things in our lives, the things that people write poetry about, clouds, daffodils, waterfalls. What goes on in a cup of coffee when the cream goes in? That stuff is all a mystery to us, as mysterious to us as the heavens were to the Greeks. Now, we're better at predicting events that are happening at the edge of the universe and within the nucleus of an atom than we are at predicting whether or not it's going to rain at Auntie's garden party 3 Sundays from now. We can't even predict the next drip from a dripping tap once the drip starts getting irregular, because every drip sets up the conditions for the next. And the smallest variation blows the whole prediction apart. And the weather is unpredictable the same way, and will always be unpredictable. You punch the numbers into a computer and you see it on the screen. The future is disorder. A door like this has cracked open what? Maybe 5-6 times since we've risen up on our hind legs? It's the best possible time to be alive, when almost everything you thought you knew turns out to be wrong.
Well, the weather's pretty predictable in the Sahara.
The scale is different, but the graph goes up and down the same way. 6,000 years in the Sahara looks like 6 months in Manchester, I bet you.
How much?
Everything you have to lose.
Oh, no.
Quite right. That's why there was corn in Egypt.
Oh. What is he playing?
I don't know. He makes it up.
Chloe calls him a genius.
That's what my mother calls him, only she means it. Last year, some expert had her digging for a year for something or other, the foundations of Capability Brown's boathouse, and thus, he put her right, first go.
Did he ever speak?
Yes, he did, actually. Until he was 5. You've never asked about him. You get high marks there for good reading.
Yeah, I know. I've always been given credit for my unconcern.
English bards and Scotch reviewers, listen and kiss my cycle clips. O harbinger of sleep, who misses the press and hoped his drone might thus escape redress, the wretched traitor bard of Ero's couch, for his narcotic let my pencil vouch. You see, you have to turn every page.
Is it his handwriting?
Oh, come on!
Obviously not.
What more do you want?
Proof!
Quite right. Who are we talking about?
Proof! You'd have to be there, you silly bitch!
I say, you're speaking of my fiancée.
And especially when I have a present for you, Bernard. What I found. A letter from Lady Croom writing to her husband from London. Her brother, Captain Bryce, married a certain Mrs. Chater, so one might assume a widow.
Well, I said he was dead. What year? 1810. Oh my god, Hannah, 1810! Well, are you gonna tell me it's a different Mrs. Chater?
Oh, no, it's her, right? You can note her Christian name.
Charity! Deny what cannot be proven for charity's sake!
Oh, don't kiss me!
She won't let anyone kiss her.
You see, they wrote, they scribbled. It was their employment, it was their diversion. Paper was what they had, and there'll be more. There is always more. And we can find it.
Wow. Such passion. First Valentine and now you. So moving.
Don't you see? It's perfect. The aristocratic friend of the tutor under the same house as the poor sod whose book he savaged. The first thing he does is seduce Chater's wife. All is discovered. There is a duel. Chater's dead, Byron's fled. P.S. Did you know that the ladyship... Sorry. Did you know that the lady married her... I'm sorry, I seem to lose my train of thought. Right. Did you know that her ladyship's brother married the widow? I mean, how could they not write a thing? It has dropped from sight, but we will write it again.
Oh, you can, Bernard. I'm not gonna take any credit for this.
Well, that's generous.
Prudent. Chater could have died of anything, anywhere.
But he fought a duel with Byron.
You haven't established it was fought. You haven't established it was Byron. Heck, you haven't even established that Byron was even here.
I'll tell you your problem. No guts.
Oh, really?
By which I mean the visceral belief in yourself. Gut instinct, the part of you which doesn't reason. Because time is reversed. Talk tick goes the universe and then it unravels itself. But you were in there and you bloody knew.
Are you talking about Lord Byron, the poet?
No, I'm talking about Lord Byron, the fucking chartered accountant.
Well, he was here, alright? The poet.
But how do you know?
He's in the game books. I think he shot a hare. I read through the whole lot.
Where's this book?
Not one I'm using, of course. Far too early.
1809, right?
They've always been in the commode. Ask Chloe.
Bernard? Bernard?
Chloe! Chloe!
My mother's lent him her bicycle. Lending one's bicycle is a form of safe sex. Possibly the safest there is. My mother's in a flutter about Bernard, and she's no fool. He gave her a first edition of Horace Walpole, and now she's given him her bicycle.
Okay.
Can I keep these?
Oh, yes, yes, of course.
I am trying to work out the diagram.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Gus, I'm coming.
I wanted to ask you something. So, this feedback thing, why didn't anyone think of it before? I mean, it's not relativity. You don't have to be Einstein.
You couldn't see to look before? The electronic calculator was what the telescope was to Galileo.
Calculators?
There wasn't enough time before. Enough pencils. This took her how many days, and she hasn't even scratched the paintwork. Now she'd only have to press a button. Over and over. Iteration. And what I've done in a couple of months, it would take the rest of my life to do again. Thousands of pages. Tens of thousands of pages, and so boring.
Wait, so do you mean that
Yes, Gus, I'm coming.
so do you mean that was the only problem? Enough pencils and time?
We're gonna go get the dressing up box.
Val! Is that all?
I'm saying that you have to have a reason for doing it.
But,
He hates it when people shout.
I'm sorry. It's just, Val, can you tell me anything else?
Yes, you'd also have to be insane.
There will be a 15-minute intermission